So, can you hear? Are you hear me?
Yes,
Are you
sir.
hearing me? Okay. So now, you see, last time we have done, I think till that platyhelminths we have done, and aschelminths also we have done or not? Page number 52 there in your NCERT book, class 11. Okay. So we'll start with the phylum aschelminths because platyhelminths I think we have finished last time. Okay. There's a flatworm, okay, and then the liver fluid, tinea, tapeworm we have finished. Okay, so now we'll go to the aschelminths. Aschelminths again, these are the, some of them are, okay, parasites, some of them are terrestrial. So we go to phylum. Phylum, okay, aschelminths. Aschelminths. Okay, these group of phylum is, if you, these are actually the nematodes, or all worms are there. These are the, okay, these are the nematodes, okay. Nematodes. And example, one of the example of the nematodes is the roundworm, okay. Roundworm, this is a parasitic worm. Roundworm is a parasitic worm. Other example is roundworm is called as the Ascaris, okay. This is the scientific name is Ascaris. Then we have the filarial worm, okay. We have the filarial worms are there. These are our Uchecheria bronchiorhabdi, okay. Uchereria, okay. It's called as Uchereria bronchiorhabdi, okay, scientific name, right? Uchereria bronchiorhabdi. Okay, then similarly we have the hookworms or ancylostoma. Hookworms. So these all kinds of the parasitic nematodes or all kinds of the worms are coming under the phylum aschelminths. And these phylum, if you make a cross section, suppose you make a cross section of the worm, it will be circular, okay? It will be circular in shape, right? Circular, it will be circular. Okay, so the body of the aschelminths is circular in cross section. So they are named as the roundworms also sometimes, okay? They, and how they live, habitats are, you see, some of them are free living, and some of them are aquatic, and some of them are terrestrial, and they are also parasitic, just like we have seen here, the roundworm or the filarial worm, then hookworms. These are the parasites, and they are parasites in plants and animals. They live inside the plants or inside them, just like in cauliflower we can see, or in the cabbage also, we get a green worm that is our aschelminths or nematodes, right? So they are bilaterally symmetric. Now roundworms, they have organ system level of the body organization. Organ system level of, they have the organ system inside them. Okay, they have the reproductive system, they have the excretory system. So they have organ systems are there in the roundworms. And they are bilaterally symmetrical. Bilaterally symmetrical means if you divide the body into two equal halves, bilaterally symmetrical. And triploblastic, they have that during their egg, inside the egg they have the three layers: ectoderm, endoderm, and mesoderm, that you already know. And then they are triploblastic, and they are pseudocoelomate animal. They have the false coelom. They are pseudocoelomate animal, or they have the false coelom. What is the definition of the false coelom? We have done last time, no? Pseudocoelomate. Pseudocoelomate, what do you mean by pseudocoelomate? Okay. Pseudocoelomate, there will be no mesoderm. Okay, ectoderm is there, endoderm is there, mesoderm is absent. In place of mesoderm is the scattered pouches are there in between ectoderm and endoderm, we have already done. So pseudocoelom, coelomate, they have no esoderm, they have no mesoderm, they have the false coelom, and there are some kind of the pouches are present between the ectoderm and endoderm. So similarly here, these roundworms are pseudocoelomate. And okay, pseudocoelomate, then see the sexes are separate. They have sexes are separate and they have the excretory system is there. Excretory tube is there. An alimentary canal is complete with a well-developed muscular pharynx. They have the well-developed alimentary system with the muscular pharynx, and they have excretory tube is remove the body waste from the body cavity through the excretory pores. Okay, I'm not giving any diagram here because in the book no need of this. And the sexes are separate. Okay, they are the dioecious. The male and female are distinct, and the males are longer than females. Okay, if you compare the males now here, suppose we take the roundworm. Okay, you see the males. You see this is the male. No? This is the male, and then okay, we go to the females now. Suppose this is the female. So males are, this is the male and this is the female. So we can see here males are longer than females. Okay. Now, okay. Mm, no. Here, one thing is they have given mistaken here in this book. I think this book is females are, okay, females, if you put it, females are longer than males. Males are smaller. Okay, males are smaller. Make a correction. If in your book it is there, you make a correction. Males are smaller, uh, and females are actually longer. So mm, males are smaller than females. You can write down there. Okay, then okay, then fertilization is internal. Fertilization is internal. The male and female give fuses inside the body, and development may be direct. The young one resemble the adult. Okay, or indirect. Development may be direct or indirect. Some of the nematodes, like in Ascaris, the egg will hatch into adult, into the larva, and the larva into adult. So that is the indirect. And sometimes they give there will be direct development also. Right. Next, we go to the phylum Annelida. Okay, Annelida here. Annelida is a vast group of animals. Annelida. Okay, example we can say that earthworm is an Annelida. Okay, the best example for you is the earthworm and the leech. Okay, and also the neris you can find in your houses and all. They are moving here and there. Neris. Neris is there. Then the Perithema postuma. There is earthworm. Scientific name of earthworm is Perithema. Okay, Perithema postuma. This has been asked in your laboratory exam in the practical test. Okay, the practical test. Okay, so you go to the phylum Annelida. Okay, phylum Annelida. It includes the earthworm. Okay, it includes the earthworm. Earthworm scientific name is Perithema. Okay, Perithema. Then it includes the neris. It includes the leech. Okay, all these are under the phylum Annelida. So here, first of all, as usual, we have to study any phylum. We have to study in the different section. First of all, we have to study the habitat. Okay, what is their habitat where they live? Any phylum of animal where they live. So here, all annelids they may be aquatic, marine, and freshwater, or terrestrial. They are free living also, and sometimes parasitic also. This is about their habitat. Okay, they may be aquatic or the terrestrial. They may be free living, and sometimes some of them are parasitic, just like the leech, we can say. Okay, so okay, they exhibit now the organization, body organization and symmetry. Next one, we'll go to the body organization. Okay, body organization and symmetry. Okay, symmetry. This is now here what we are studying here. This is on the same pattern. We have to study till the phylum. We have to study till the phylum Hemichordata. Okay, same pattern. But these are very simple things you are studying. You have done in the lower classes also, I know. And the hardest part will come after this chapter. We finish the animal kingdom. Then we have the hardest part will come. Okay, so here not hardest part means a slightly complicated part will come. So so here student, the body organization and symmetry. Okay, they are they exhibit the organ system level of body organization. That means they have the organ system in the body, and they are bilaterally symmetrical. Okay, they have the organ system, and they are bilaterally symmetrical. Symmetry is bilateral. Okay, bilateral symmetry. That means if you cut the body into two equal halves, all the equal halves contain same kind of organ system. That's bilateral symmetry we have done, and they are triploblastic. Triploblastic means they have the three embryonic layer: ectoderm, endoderm, and mesoderm, and they are metamerically segmented. Means the body is divided into sections. That is called a segment, and segment are metamere. Metamere means if the body will divide into the section, it is called as metamere. So the body is metamerically segmented. You can see in the diagram. Look at the diagram here. If you go to the okay, this is a leaf. Suppose we go to the leaf here. Okay, this is a leaf. Suppose so here we find there is a division of the body like this. Okay, there is a division of the body like this. Okay, in the leech we get the division, and similarly in the earthworm also. Suppose you take the body of the earthworm also. In the earthworm also there will be division like that. Okay, this is earthworm. Okay, so this is called as our metameric segments. Okay, this is called as metameric segments. Okay, the body is divided into segments. These are called as metameric segments. So they are triploblastic means they have ectoderm, endoderm, and mesoderm. Triploblastic means at the embryonic stage. At the embryonic stage, they have the ectoderm. Okay, they have the ectoderm. They have the endoderm, and they have the mesoderm. I think I have mesoderm. This I have already told you before. In the previous classes, I told you that the triploblastic means they have the three layers of the organization: ectoderm, endoderm, and mesoderm in the embryonic stage. Okay, now their body surface is distinctly marked out into segments or metameres. Hence, the phylum name Annelida. Why the name Annelida? Because they have the ring-like. Annulus means little ring. Okay, they have the ring-like division on the body, and these divisions are called here metameric segments. That's why the name Annelida. Okay, they possesses longitudinal and circular muscles which help in the locomotion. So here they have the longitudinal muscles here and the circular muscles. Okay, they help in the locomotion. Inside the body, we get the muscular muscle system, and in the earthworm, the locomotive organ is called as the CT. They have scale like this, have the structure. Suppose you take a segment of the earthworm, So on every segment, suppose you take one segment of the earthworm, on every segment there is a S-shaped structure. S-shaped structure is called the CT. It's called the CT, and with this structure, earthworm can move. Okay, this is locomotory organ. So they say there. Okay, they possess a longitudinal and circular muscle. These CT are connected with the longitudinal and circular muscle, which help in the locomotion or movement. Then we go aquatic annelids are there like the Nereis possesses the lateral appendages or parapodia, which help in the swimming. In the Nereis, if you go in the figure they have given you, suppose you go to the Nereis. In the Nereis, they have lateral appendage. Suppose this is a Nereis. Okay, this is a Nereis here, like this. So you can take this is a Nereis. Okay, so here, okay, the body is divided into segments. That's all right. Okay, these are the segments here. And after that, they have some extra structure like this. Okay, these structures, these extra structures, these are called as parapodia. This is parapodia, and they help in the swimming. Suppose if they go in the water, okay, mostly they live in the moist area, so this will help in them. Parapodia help in swimming, and these are called as the lateral appendages. These are called as what? These are the lateral appendages. Okay, lateral appendages are there. Okay, then after that, after lateral appendages or the locomotory organs, they have a closed circulatory system present. Closed circulatory system means the blood will flow into the vessels from the heart. Okay, they have a closed circulatory system, and okay, uh, nephridia. There is a nephridia. There is excretory organ in the phylum Annelida. Is called as our nephridia. Okay, and they have the nephridia. Nephridia. This is an excretory organ. This is an excretory organ, nephridia. If you look at the structure of the nephridia, all nephridia appear like this. Okay, this is the structure of the nephridia. All nephridia appear like this. Okay, so they have these nephridia are found in their body, and nephridia singular will be nephridium. This will help in osmoregulation and excretion. This will help in osmoregulation and excretion. What do you mean by osmoregulation? Osmoregulation is to maintain a balance between the salt and water in the body. If the balance between salt and water is maintained, it is called as osmoregulation. And this also helps in excretion. As per example, human kidney, this is responsible for osmoregulation and excretion. So same thing. This is a nephridia. This is a primitive excretory organ, and the nephridia has evolved. This has evolved into kidney, later stage in the mammals, in the toad and frogs, in the amphibians, in the birds. Okay, they're in the fishes, right? So see, every organ has evolved in the, from simple to complex. For example, heart, before it was the two-chambered, then it became three-chambered, then it became four-chambered in human beings. Similarly, all the organs from the lowest phylum to the highest phylum, they have evolved into a complex structure, from simple structure to complex structure. This is the story of the evolution of life on the earth. Okay, now here, if you go to, okay, now about the nervous system or the neural system consists of paired ganglia connected by lateral nerves to a double ventral nerve cord. So here what you find that, suppose you look at the nervous system. So nervous system consists of paired ganglia. This is called as the ganglia. Okay, this is called as the ganglia. Ganglia. Okay, these are the mass. Okay, these are the mass of nerve. Mass of nerve is called ganglia. Okay, these two are called as the ganglia. Okay, they don't have the brain. The function of the brain will be done by the mass of the nerve. That is called as ganglia, and ganglia is connected by the lateral nerve cord. Okay, they are connected by the nerves like this. Okay, they are connected by the lateral nerve cords. These are the nerve cords. Okay, okay, these are the lateral. This is also lateral nerve cords. Okay, then okay, and these nerve cords are on the ventral sides. The upper side of the animal is called dorsal side, and lower side is called as the ventral side. So these two are the ventral nerve cord. This is the ventral nerve cord. Okay, right? Ventral nerve cord. These two are ventral nerve cord, right? Okay. So nereis, an aquatic form, is the dioecious. Some of the example, one of the example of the annelida like the nereis is a dioecious. That means that males and females are distinct. Monoecious and dioecious, you have to understand that, because it comes how many times? No, monoecious. Okay, monoecious and dioecious. Okay, dioecious. Monoecious means they are. So here the Male and female sex organs are present in the same animal, and the dioecious male and female sex organs are distinct. Male and female individual are distinct. Therefore, sex organs are also distinct. And so Nereis is a dioecious. Earthworm and the leeches are monoecious. Earthworm and leeches, they have the both male and female sex organs are present in the same segment or in the same animal, and the reproduction is sexual. Okay, so this is very simple. Habitat we have known, and the level of organization will be organ level, bilateral symmetry. They are triploblastic, they are metamerically segmented. They have the body is divided into segments, and they are they are oscillomere. They have the body space inside that to keep the organ system. And then they possesses longitudinal circular muscle which help in the locomotion. I told you CT in the earthworm. And the aquatic animals like the Nereis possesses lateral appendages. I told you these are known as the parapodia, which help in the swimming. Sometimes they will ask in the exam, what is the function of the parapodia? So you have to write down there. Parapodia helps in the swimming. It is a lateral appendages and found in the Nereis. And what is the function of the nephridia? Nephridia is an excretory organ in the Annelida. It helps in osmoregulation and excretion. And then the monoecious and dioecious, I told you, they are the difference between monoecious and the dioecious in the exam. Okay, then we go to phylum Arthropoda. Next one is the phylum. Today we have to finish this phylum. Okay, Arthropoda. So now, next one we go to the phylum Arthropoda. Phylum. Okay. Arthropoda. Arthropoda. Phylum Arthropoda will go today. So now Arthropoda, as the name indicates, poda means the foot. Okay, poda means the foot. Okay, those animals which have many appendages or the foot, or they have the jointed appendages, they are called as the arthropoda. Jointed appendages. Okay, for example, suppose we go to the example honeybee, okay, apish, or the silk moth. You go to Anopheles mosquito will go. Okay, Locustus insect will go. All these insects are coming under arthropoda. So if you look on them, suppose we go to look at the butterfly now. Okay, butterfly, suppose a rough sketch we draw structure of the butterfly. Okay, butterfly, we draw the structure. Okay, you can get a structure like this. Okay, you can get a structure like this. Okay, now, okay. Okay, now here what we see that the body is divided into segments. These are called the head. Okay, then we call it the thorax. This part is called as the thorax and abdomen. Okay, abdomen. Okay, the abdomen contain all the organ system. If you take a scissor and dissect the abdomen, you find all the organ system are present. Excretory, heart, reproductive system, all system are present in the abdomen part. In the thorax part, you don't get anything. You get only the connected organ of digestive system. Okay, and so here, and they have the jointed appendage. You see the foot of an insect. It is jointed. Okay, foot of the insect will be jointed like this. Okay, right. So here it is the first segment of the thorax is called as the prothorax. Then second segment will be mesothorax, and the third segment is the metathorax. And the leg which are present in the prothorax are called as prothoracic leg, and the leg which is present, or appendages which is present in the mesothorax are called as our mesothoracic leg, and the appendages or leg present in the metathorax are called as the metathoracic leg or appendages. So here they have the jointed all the legs are jointed, so they have the jointed appendages. And so the body is divided into head, thorax, and abdomen. So now let's go to the book now, phylum Arthropoda. Okay, this is the largest phylum of animals, the largest phylum of animals, which includes insects. All the insects are coming under the phylum Arthropoda. Over two-thirds of all named species on Earth are Arthropoda. Okay, two-thirds of the species coming under this phylum Arthropoda. They have the organ level of organization. Now, habitat, they are found everywhere. Okay, in water also, in the air also, in the soil also. So arthropod has harbor all the habitat of nature. So here they have the organ system level of organization. They have all organ systems are there inside, like the digestive, respiratory, excretory, circulatory, all the organ system they have. And they are bilaterally symmetrical. If you cut a butterfly from the middle, you get the two half, and two half contain the same organ system. Okay, so that's why they are bilaterally symmetrical, triploblastic. In the egg stage, they have the ectoderm, endoderm, and mesoderm stage, and they are segmented. The body is divided into segments. We have done here the head, thorax, and abdomen like that, and then the thorax and abdomen is also divided into segments. We have seen here. So uh, these are the segments. They have divided into prothorax, metathorax, mesothorax, like that. They have divided into segments. So the body of the earthworm, and they are coelomate. They have the body space or the coelom inside, because the coelom or the body space it will accommodate all the organs inside the space. Okay, the body of arthropod is covered by chitinous exoskeleton. Here on the surface of the butterfly or any insect you see, if you touch the surface, it is very hard, because the surface is made up of the of the chitin. So that's why it's called as the exoskeleton. Exoskeleton means the skeleton at the upper surface of the body is called exoskeleton. For example, our nails are exoskeleton. So that is the okay. So that they have the exoskeleton. The chitinous, the exoskeleton is made of the chitin. Chitin is a kind of the kind of the cellulose. Okay, and the body is divided into head, thorax, and abdomen. We have seen just now in the butterfly. They have jointed appendages. Uh, Arthro means the joint, and the poda means appendages. So all the appendages are joined. You see the leg part, you see. Okay, so they are jointed. Head, thorax, and abdomen also jointed. So they have jointed appendages. And the respiratory organ in the arthropoda are, just you underline that, respiratory organs are gill, they ask in the exam. They are gills, and the book gills or book lungs or the tracheal system. In the NEET exam also they have asked about the book lungs. Okay, so respiratory organs are gills. Okay, and book lungs and the book gills or tracheal system. Now if I show you, suppose I take the butterfly once again. We take the example of the butterfly. Okay, now this is the head part of the butterfly. This will be the head part. This is the thorax, and this is the abdomen. So here what happened? Okay, there are the pores are there. Okay, there are pores are there. Okay, these pores are there. Okay, these pores are connected with a tube-like structure like this. Okay, these are connected with a tube-like structure. Okay, here also they are connected with a tube-like structure. They are connected with a tube-like structure here also, connected with a tube-like structure. Okay, they are connected with a tube-like structure here. Okay, so they are connected here also. They are connected with a tube-like structure. This is called as the tracheal system. This is called as the tracheal system. Tracheal system. So here, oxygen will enter, and also the carbon dioxide gas will be removed. This is a tracheal system. Oxygen enter and the carbon dioxide gas is removed. Now, tracheal system is the respiratory system. Okay, in case of the insect, most of the insect we have the tracheal system, And tracheal system consists of the trachea or the tube-like structure. This is called our trachea. Okay, and the trachea is connected with the pores, and through these pores, oxygen enters, and the carbon dioxide gas. The oxygen enter and the carbon dioxide gas will be released. Okay, then here, okay, you see tracheal system. You can see inside the butterfly also if you wanted to see them under the uh, simple microscope. You take a dissecting microscope. Under that, if you can observe them, or simple microscope, you can find also in your houses also. In suppose you bought a dissecting box, or you bought or you don't bought, I don't know, but in the dissecting box, actually biology student, they buy dissecting box in class 11. So now in the dissecting box you get a lens like that. Okay, you get a lens like that. Okay, this will act as a simple microscope, and with this lens, if you dissect a butterfly and see under that, you get a clear cut tracheal system. And you can take the picture from mobile also, the tracheal system of butterfly, and you can print out a photograph, and you can show to your friends also the tracheal system in butterfly. Show them, oh, this is the respiratory system in the insect. You see how they look like. Very nice structure you'll get. Okay, so okay, this is about the tracheal system. Now we'll go to circulatory system is open type.
So
Yes,
book girls is tracheal system only.
yes.
Book girls is tracheal system only or different.
No, 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 no. Book lungs are book gills, and book lungs are not tracheal system. Book gills are found in the larva of the insect. Those larvae of the insect, which are aquatic insect, are there? No. In aquatic insect, the larva of the insect has got the gills. Okay, just like in the fish, we find the gills. No, they have gills, and the lungs we find their lungs are found in the prawn. In the prawn, if we take the prawn is also coming under arthropoda. They are not the fish. Or they are coming under the arthropoda. The prawn you buy from the market, no? So they have the book lungs. Prawn has got the book lungs, and book lungs are just like structure of the book lungs are in this way. This is the structure of the book lungs. Okay, just like as if the books are pages of the books are arranged. So this will be book lungs. Okay, and gills in the aquatic insect. Suppose you get an aquatic insect, larva of the aquatic insect. Inside, if you get a structure like this. Okay, the structures are like this. Suppose this is an insect. Okay, so here you get this is called as the gills. Okay, gills. If you show the gills, okay, they are just like a structure like this. Okay, these are the gills, and they are supplied with the blood capillaries in between. In between, we get the blood capillaries. These are called the book gills also, or gills also same. Okay, book gills are found in the aquatic larval insects, and book lungs are found in the prawn. And in the most of the terrestrial insect, we get the tracheal system. Terrestrial insect, you take that mosquito also, you take butterfly, you take, okay, then you take the scorpion, okay, you take the locustus also. So there you can get this, okay, this get, okay, tracheal system, right? So when you go to circulatory system is of open type. Open type, I told you there will be no uh, proper blood vessels which can carry the blood. Blood from the and blood in they will just flow over the tissue from the heart. Okay, that is and the substances of the blood, oxygen of the blood, or the all the essential substances or elements of the blood, vitamins, etc., will be absorbed by the cells of the tissues. That's why this is an open system, because they don't have any kind of the blood vessel which carry the blood. Okay. So then we have here, you see that, okay, sensory organs are the antennae, eyes. Okay, sensory organs in the arthropods are antenna. Antenna, just now we have seen in case of butterfly, we find this is antenna. These are antennae. Okay, antennae will they will their main function is to sense the chemical of the environment. Suppose they want to eat a leaf. Before eating the leaf, the antenna will recognize that whether there is a toxin in the leaf or not. If there is no toxin in the leaf, if no toxicity in the leaf, then only they can eat. Otherwise, the antenna will say that there is chemical reaction going on in the antenna, no repulsion and attraction. So antenna releases some chemical, and then the toxin is there. And if it cannot destroy the toxin, then it cannot eat. The insect will not eat that leaf. If the antenna released by the chemical released by the antenna destroy the toxin, then they will eat the leaf. Okay, so like that. So antenna are the sensory structure. Then eyes are two types of eyes are there: simple eye and compound eye. Compound eye. See, human being, we have the simple eye made up of only one lens. Okay. In compound eye, there are many lenses, and these many lenses are called as the ommatidium. Suppose in the insect, they have compound eye. Okay. In case of the insect, suppose you take an insect. Inside the insect, we get we get here many lenses. Okay. And these lenses are called as the ommatidium. They are called as ommatidium, and this is called as the compound eye. And if you have single lens, this is called as the simple eye. Okay, if the eye has got the if the eye has got the single lens, it is called as the simple eye. If eye has got the many lenses, then it is called compound eye. And most of the insect has compound eye, so that they can recognize. Okay, they can detect. Insect can detect ultraviolet rays also. Our human eye cannot detect ultraviolet rays, but they can detect the ultraviolet rays. Okay. Okay. Then then they have stetocyst, or the balancing organs are present. In some of the aquatic insect or some of the flying insect, they have the stetocyst, or the balancing organ are present. Okay, these are the sensory organs, or antenna are there, eyes are there, and stetocyst. These three types are called as the sensory organs. Okay, and one more sensory organs are there, is not given in the book. These sensory organs are found in the insect only, and these sensory organs are called as the sensilla. They are called as sensilla. Okay, sensilla are a collection of the nerves. Okay, suppose insect want to feed some of the leaf. So sensilla recognize the moisture, if they have the moisture or not, or the leaves are dry. The leaves are dry, insect will not eat. If leaves are infected, insect will not eat. But if the leaves contain plentiful of moisture, there is a and the moisture in the leaf, then this is detected by the hygroscopic sensilla. Okay, and the sensilla also detect the temperature. They can detect the humidity. All these environmental conditions are detected by sensilla. So this is not given in this book. If you go to higher study, then you will study about the sensilla. Okay, then all the excretion takes place through the Malpighian tubules. Excretion takes place through the Malpighian tubules are excretory organs in the insects. Okay, Malpighian tubules. Okay, these are taken by the Malpighian. Okay, Malpighian tubule. Very important organs in the insects, or in the arthropoda. Malpighian tubules are important organs of the excretion. They are the excretory organs. Okay, excretory organs, Malpighian tubules, and they help in excretion and osmoregulation, as we told. And they are mostly dioecious. Dioecious means males and females are distinct in the arthropoda, and they are mostly oviparous. Oviparous means they lay the eggs. And development may be direct or indirect. Okay. Examples of economically important insects are honeybee, apis. They have given bombyx, silkworm, or leuciphus, lac insects. And the vectors or the parasitic insects are, you see, parasitic insects are, we have the mosquito Anopheles, Culex, and Aedes mosquito. And gregarious pests which can eat the leaf, which can eat the crop very fast are the locusts or the locusts. Okay, living fossils are limulus, living fossil. If they ask in the exam, write the name of the living fossil of arthropoda. So we can write there king crab or limulus, because not much species of the limulus or king crab surviving on the earth. Only a few of them. So all the government of all the countries are trying to preserve this. Okay, king crab. Okay, by they give in the area, in the reserve area of the water, and they try to make them multiply in the large number so that their species can survive on the earth. Okay, then we go to phylum Mollusca. Okay, my Mollusca are the phylum of the, this include the snails and the octopus or the jellyfish, etc. So phylum Mollusca, this is the second largest animal phylum, and Mollusca are terrestrial or aquatic. They may be marine or freshwater, having an organ system level of organization. Mollusca is very important. So now here we go to phylum Mollusca. Okay, phylum, we go to Mollusca. Okay, so okay, if you draw a snail, okay, if you draw a snail, it will be our Mollusca. Okay, this is snails. Okay, or we can say the, okay, this is our, okay, the octopus. Okay, octopus is there, octopus, or we can say that this is the pila, snail or the pila. All these are the mollusca. Now mollusca, I told you this is the second largest phylum on the earth, and they are terrestrial also, they are aquatic also. Aquatic, they may be marine, they live in the seawater or they live in the freshwater or river stream, and they have an organs, they have an organ level of organization, very simple. And then they are bilaterally symmetrical, triploblastic, and coelomate animal. Bilaterally, they have the bilaterally symmetrical. If they divide them, they divide into two equal halves having the same organ system. They are triploblastic, ectoderm, endoderm, mesoderm, and they have the body space or coelom, and the body is covered by uh, calcareous cell. Calcareous cell means the hard outer layer is made of the calcium. That's called calcareous. In the snail, you find they have the calcareous cell. Okay, mollusca, and then okay, body is covered by calcareous cell and is unsegmented with a distinct head. There are no segment, no division of the body, but they have the head, they have the muscular foot and visceral hump. Okay, they have the, suppose here they have the head. Okay, this is hump, visceral hump, and this is called as the muscular foot. Okay, muscular. Okay, this will be our muscular foot. Okay, suppose example in the snail also, if the snail will come out, you get a structure like this. Okay, this is the structure of the snail. So this is the head part. Okay, this is the foot part, and this part here is called as hump or viscera. Okay, this is a visceral hump. This is a visceral hump. If you come out of the cell, no, this is a cell, no. If they come out of the cell, okay, then they will appear like this. So there's head, then there's the foot, muscular foot is there, and hump-like structure. This is inside the viscera. Okay, then a soft and spongy layer of skin forms a mantle over the visceral hump. Over the hump, you get a soft and spongy layer of the skin is there. Okay, and that is called as the spongy layer of skin forms a mantle. This part is called as this part is called as the mantle. Okay, this part is called as mantle, and here also we get the mantle here on the top. We get the mantle. So mantle is, what is mantle? They will ask you in the exam. So see, mantle is a soft and a spongy layer of skin over the visceral hump. Mantle is a soft and spongy layer of skin over the visceral hump in the mollusca. And body of the mollusca is divided into head, muscular foot, and visceral hump. Very simple. Okay, and the space between the hump and the mantle is called the mantle cavity. Space between mantle and the hump, there is space here, and this space is called as our mantle cavity. This is called as the mantle cavity. Here also, this space. Okay, this space is called as our mantle cavity. So the space between the hump and the mantle is called as mantle cavity, in which the feather-like gills are present. So here we get the gills. Okay, here also we get the gills, and you see gills help in the respiration. Okay, gills help in the respiration or exchange of the oxygen and carbon dioxide. They have respiratory and excretory functions. Gills. So here in these, they have the two types of functions are there. Respiratory function also they have, and excretory function also they are. Very important. The gills in the mollusca have the two types of function. They are respiratory function also. They have excretory function also. Excretory means they remove. They can remove they actually take the water. No, so in the water the carbon dioxide is there. So only excretory the excretory products are the carbon dioxide. That's why they are known as the respiratory and excretory function. They have the anterior head region has sensory tentacles. Anterior head region has sensory tentacles. So here I told you the tentacles, no? So here they have the sensory tentacles, anterior region. Here also they have the sensory tentacles. Tentacles are just like we can say that spiny like, just like not spiny, but spiny like structures are called the tentacles. And the anterior head region has sensory tentacles. Okay, tentacles they can move. Okay, just like in the hydra we have tentacles, that was the soft tentacles, but here slightly harder tentacles are there. Okay, the mouth contains a file-like rasping organ for feeding called as radula. Mouth has got the file, like just like a file. No, file has got the opening. Okay, two sides of the file are there, two plates of the file. So here the mouth has it contains also the two sides of opening, file-like opening, and these are the rasping organ for the feeding. They can hold the food material, and this rasping organ, okay, is called as the radula. Okay, very important. R-A-D-U-L-A, radula. That's very important radula part. Okay, they are, next page we'll go. They are usually dioecious and oviparous. Dioecious means they are male and female are different. Oviparous means they lay the eggs with the indirect development. Example will be pila or apple snail, then pink turtle, pearl oyster. All these leligo, squids are there, octopus are there. Okay, all these are on. You have to learn only one or two examples are there. Then we go to the phylum Echinodermata. Echinodermata here, in Echinodermata we get the starfish. Mostly starfish is coming under Echinodermata. Okay, so these animals have an endoskeleton of, endo means the skeleton inside the body. Endoskeleton of the calcareous ossicle. Okay, endoskeleton are made of a very hard ossicle like structure made of the calcium, calcareous ossicle. Ossicle means slightly, okay, spiny structures, and hence the name Echinodermata. Spiny body, and they have the spiny body figure. No, suppose we take the starfish. Okay, phylum Echinodermata will go to. Okay, phylum is now Echinodermata. Echinodermata. If we go to the starfish, okay. If you go to the starfish like this, okay, starfish. So they have the, okay, they have the spiny structures are there like this, okay, and for locomotion they have a structure like this. This is called as our tube feet, okay, and okay. So this is a starfish. We go to starfish. We can get a lot of starfish if we go in the morning near the seashore. A lot of starfish coming there near the seashore. You can collect them and you can bring and you can preserve there in the formalin in the laboratory. You can study them. Okay, so these Echinodermata, these animals have endoskeleton of calcareous ossicle. I told you, hence the name Echinodermata. All are marine. All Echinodermata are marine with the organ level of organization. Okay, the adult echinoderms are radially symmetrical, but the larvae are bilaterally symmetrical. Underline that, please. The adult one are radially symmetrical. If you cut the body from any radius from the center, they have the same kind of the organ system, radially symmetrical. But the adult its larval stages are bilaterally symmetrical. Okay, if you cut the body into two halves, they will show the equal organ system, and they are triploblastic and coelomate animal. Triploblastic means I told you they have the ectoderm, endoderm, and mesoderm layers are there in the developmental stages, and they have space in the body. Coelomate. So digestive system is complete with the mouth on the lower side and anus on the upper side. This is a strange thing here. The digestive system is complete, but the mouth is present on the ventral side or on the lower side, and anus is present on the upper side. Okay, this will be upper side, this dorsal side, and ventral side below. So the mouth is below, and anus is above. Okay, so here this is a strange phenomenon in Echinodermata, the organization of digestive system. And the most distinct feature of echinoderm is the presence of water vascular system, which help in the locomotion, capture, and transport of food and respiration. You see, look at the water vascular system. If you look at, this is the starfish, suppose, okay, this is the starfish here. Look at the water vascular system. See that Echinodermata, they, from the ventral side, the water will enter into the body, and this is connected. Okay, the water will go to all parts of the body like this, okay, in this way, the canals like this, okay. So here also it moves into canals like this, okay. Here also it moves into canals, okay, like this. And here also it moves into canals, okay. Now this water vascular system, water will flow in the body, and this will help in when water vascular system has got here the structure like this. This is called tube feet. Okay, this is called the tube feet. This is help in locomotion, and also the water vascular system helps in the capture and the transport of the food. Okay, and the respiration, because through the water the exchange of oxygen, carbon dioxide will take place, dissolve oxygen, and the dissolved carbon dioxide will take place in water. Okay, and excretory system is absent in the Echinodermata. Sexes are separate. Okay, that means they are dioecious. Reproduction is sexual. Fertilization is usually external. External means the fertilization, male and female gamete fuse outside the body in the water. And just like in case of the fishes, also fertilization is external. In case of the amphibians, also fertilization is external. But if you go right from the birds to reptiles, okay, etc. Right from the birds and reptiles, fertilization starts internal fertilization. Mammals also fertilization is internal. Okay, so here fertilization is external, and development is indirect with the free swimming larva. Larvae are free swimming. Example will be starfish, then sea urchin, echinus, sea lily is there, then cucumeria, sea cucumber, they are given in the book. You see the example in the book. Okay. So then after that, we go to phylum Hemichordata. Okay, the last phylum, Hemichordata. Okay, we will complete this one today, Hemichordata. Then after that, we'll start the chordata in the next class now. So phylum Hemichordata. Hemichordata. Phylum Hemichordata. Okay, the animal kingdom is the longest kingdom in the zoology part. Otherwise, all are short. So you see phylum Hemichordata. If you look at a Hemichordata known as Melanoglossus, this is a It's the structure of the balloon glasses. Okay, structure of the balloon glasses. Inside they have shown the structure. This is called the collar. Structure is called this is called the collar. Okay, collar, right? And then we have the trunk. Okay, we have the trunk here. Okay, so this is the proboscis. Okay, proboscis. Okay, then we have the collar, and this is the trunk. This is the structure of the one of the hemichordata. Example is the Gallanoglossus. Okay, Gallanoglossus. They have given example. So here, Hemichordata was earlier considered a subphylum under the phylum Chordata. It was included under the phylum Chordata, but now it is placed as a separate phylum under the non-chordata, under the invertebrates, just like we have done until the Echinodermata, no? So under the non-chordata it is placed. Hemichordata have a rudimentary structure in the collar region called, in the collar region it has a rudimentary structure called as our stomochord. Okay, this structure is called as the stomochord. Okay, this structure is called as our, okay, this structure, this is called as the stomochord, and this whole part is called as the collar. Okay, this whole part is called collar. This rod-like structure is called as the stomochord, and the rudimentary structure in the collar region called stomochord is structure similar to notochord. This is notochord, this tube-like structure found in the chordata. So this structure is similar to the notochord found in the hemichordata. Okay, hemichordata. Okay, now this phylum consists of a small group of the worm-like marine animals with the organ level of organization, and they are bilaterally symmetrical. If we divide the body into two halves contain the equal parts. Okay, and they are bilaterally symmetrical, triploblastic. They have 3 layers in developmental stages. They are phylometa animal. Body is cylindrical. You see, body is cylindrical and composed of anterior proboscis. Okay, collar and the trunk. This is the trunk. Anterior means the upper part, posterior means lower part. Okay, and the circulatory system is open type. That means they don't have the blood vessels. Circulatory system is open type. Respiration takes place through the gills because they are aquatic. And excretory organ is the proboscis gland. Here's proboscis. So inside that we get the glandular structures. Okay, and this is called as our proboscis gland. Okay. This is also found in the morning. If you go near the seashore, you find a lot of the Gallanoglossus coming from inside the sand. Okay, and then excretory organ is the proboscis gland. Sexes are separate. We get the male Gallanoglossus, female male hemichordata and female hemichordata we get, and the development and the fertilization is external, and development is indirect. Okay, development is what? Indirect. Okay, fertilization is external, means the fertilization, gamete formation takes place inside the water, outside the body. Example will be Gallanoglossus and Saccoglossus. That's given in the book now, Gallanoglossus and Saccoglossus. So we come to end of the class today, because in the next class we'll start with the chordata. Okay, chordata. And after the chordata we'll complete the chapter. Then we see the other chapter, which one we have to start in the zoology. Okay, we'll consult with the other teacher what they're doing. So we'll start according to that. Okay, we will go directly to, I think we'll go to the physiology part after this. Okay, so today, students, any question, any doubt you can clarify today, and otherwise we will be winding up the class today. And yes, student, any questions? Hello.
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay,
No,
so
sir. No,
okay,
sir.
okay. So now today, okay, good night until, okay, we will meet in the next class. Okay.